All right, let's do it. Let's get this show on the road. All right. No Instagram is. What about Substack? What's going on? Why is the Substack being such a? Why are they being such a jerk? I don't understand. I want to try and stop it and start it again. Let's try Substack by itself. And then Instagram by itself. I hope so. What's that? I don't see it, and it's being weird. So we'll just proceed as if. Oh, you can see Substack. Excellent. Instagram's still out. Okay, cool. Well, fingers crossed it stays that way. Good Lord. What you doing? All right. Let's jump straight into here. Ladies and gentlemen, wait, hold on. Let me bring in, hi. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me bring in the chat room right away. Good to see you. Welcome to the show, everybody. Hello, what's going on? I'm in my WKRP shirt. Good to see you. Welcome. It's House Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Let me check and make sure the doors are all set and we're good. And we've got this thing over here. And what's this? I was wearing a green shirt right before the show started. And I had to swap it out because I forgot I was wearing green. And I was just going to be a floating head for the show, which doesn't work, especially because we've all learned a valuable lesson in this day and age. Now, the green I was wearing was like a deeper green, this kind of thing, and it's bluish on the inside. So it would just be, I don't know if I turn it inside out, maybe when certain light hits it, it would just be like irritatingly. I tried to tweak it. It seems blue in this light, which isn't half bad. Anyways, yeah. It's relative green. I had to tone it, and then it was like, screw it. I'll just swap to a red shirt. And hi, you don't need to know this. It's just part of the thing. It's just the show. It's just making the show work and playing the show and that kind of thing. What are we doing? Yeah, show, right. Chat room, good to see you. Floating heads can be scary. It's true. Also, the big budget-busting bill squeaked by in the Senate right now and is headed for the House. If they change anything, it has to go back and get voted on again. And I can't imagine it won't. So that'll be fun to watch, although they are very afraid to do this. And they are signing their sort of political death by doing this. So kind of fuck them. I mean, we're in a situation here, ladies and gentlemen, where, like I said about the SCOTUS rulings, everybody's been wailing and gnashing their teeth about lately. None of the SCOTUS rulings that have been horrifying happened last week when the SCOTUS decided them. They happened in 2016 when a bunch of fuckers on our side of the aisle stood down or played nice or thought we should have a businessman establishment with that's a corporate Dems and blah, blah, blah. And that Hillary Clinton warmonger lady. And in doing that, by making that kind of a childish dipshit decision, when faced with someone like Donald Trump, who is a pussy-grabbing fraud and felon, you set up a situation, if you voted that way, or if you voted for Jill Stein, or if you sat it out, or if you voted for Trump, or whatever. The whole, I didn't vote for this. Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. You vote for all of it. You vote for all of it. I can have some regrets about some of the things that the candidates I voted for because they are complete people and they're going to do stuff I don't like because that's humanity. And I take that on because I voted for them. That's part and parcel. That's the trade-off I make. But when you sit there and go, when he said he was going to do all this awful shit, I kind of go fuck yourself. Kind of just realize you're a terrible person with awful judgment and fix your shit. That would be the thing. Now, there have been, let's see if I can bring up the truth sinkhole stuff between Trump and his ilk, because he's I guess redoing the pissing war between himself and Elon Musk. That started anew. And the profiling and the persons and this thing. Yeah, let's see if we can get this. Let's see. A sponsored truth, Jesus. Oh my God. Ew. What the shit? Okay, so remember how Trump got really mad? Oh, let's go. Okay, let's border shit, blah blah blah. Let me show you one thing. Real quick. Going beautiful bill. Let's say where's his. I want to show you his freak out and fuck around with Elon Musk, and he's threatened him today. I'll show you some of the video of him speaking on his way to a helicopter on his way to asshole Alcatraz. There we go. Here it is. So this is, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, and you hate to see it. You really do, except when you don't. Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me. Hold on, let's scroll this down. For president, that I was strongly against the EV mandate. It is ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. Don't threaten me with a good time. I mean, we hate to see them gnawing at each other's throats, but we kind of don't. Again, this is a situation where it's like, kind of like when Musk and Bezos are at it. It's like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. In reality, either one of them has the power to stomp a lot of us to death, but you can root for one that's maybe a little more controllable, I suppose, at least temporarily. Or at least go, hey, at least while they're fighting each other, we could all run. So Elon may get more subsidies. Elon would probably have to close shop. Okay, there. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. In caps or whatever. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good hard look at this. Big money to be saved. Now, I brought up for a long time for all those Elon Muscovite bootstrap bullshitters that talk about what an amazing super genius he is. I think he had actually called for them to destroy it.
Where's the kaboom?
You're right.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Yeah, that was what was supposed to happen with the big bill when he tweeted about it. It was supposed to change. That's a direct quote from him. That I would like to remind everybody, and I don't think I ever get tired of this, is that you wouldn't even know Elon Musk's name if it wasn't for Barack Obama. If Barack Obama hadn't insisted on EV subsidies being added to the salvaging of the big three auto companies, which, by the way, Trump was against post-2008, which, by the way, the car companies were not on the hook for 2008. Can we just say that? Like, the car companies are a good example of collateral damage from something, that was not the cause of it. It wasn't that the auto companies were involved in credit default swaps, right? They were, you buy a car on credit sometimes. They also had people who were leasing cars and all this other stuff. And as the credit market got its legs swept because of this credit default swap shit, it was no fault of the car companies that suddenly their entire substructure of how they sell cars was fucked into a cocked hat. And in the salvaging of it, Donald Trump was against it, right? He wants to bring all these factories back to Michigan as long as there's no workers in them, because he wants big giant vending machines assigned, right, to like different states. Like, hey, you get a vending machine. It's like he's like the Oprah of automobile vending machines. I swear to God, I think he drives by those Carvana elevator buildings and thinks they're car factories. He's that fucking dumb. So, anyways, if it wasn't for that addition of the EV credits and that kind of stuff, and the support for electric vehicle companies, largely because of the popularity of Who Killed the Electric Car and the documentary around that, and that you could see the tide going in that direction, and it was a good timing for it. Tesla wouldn't exist because it wouldn't have gotten the support it needed from the federal government to actually catch up to anywhere near the big three, and there wouldn't be SpaceX. There might be Bezos and Blue Origin. There might be, quite frankly, you might have seen Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic would have maybe made a bigger run at it, because that subsidy money would have spread around to other people instead of Elon Musk. But understand that there is no Elon Musk without these massive subsidies. Now, Trump didn't have a problem with that until Elon Musk and he ran afoul of each other. He was fine with these subsidies. He wasn't like big money to be saved. Why wouldn't you save the money when you're fucking going in there? Why, if you don't like electric cars and you think they're, gay, toxic, and communist, why suck up to the dude in the first place? Why not just talk him into, hey, do spaceships, we're gonna fuck your cars. Just forget that. And Tesla in a lot of ways is an energy grid company and is trying to become a software company more than anything else, for the auto drive and the borderline self-driving. I don't know anybody who wants that or trusts that, except in like little Zoom cars in a downtown area. It's so fucking weird. I don't trust I'm going to fall asleep behind the wheel of my car anytime soon. Ugh. But anyways, and trust it to stay on the road. But the point is, Elon Musk, of course, is heavily subsidized. Trump didn't give a shit until the guy started giving him problems. And what I want to the point I would like to make to the maggots out there and anybody who is thinking about like sucking up to Trump to benefit from whatever this alleged wave that's going on, which is, by the way, a myth, because if you have to have the vice president come in and cast the tie-breaking vote on your big bullshit bill, you do not have a mandate. If there is any evidence, there is not a mandate. It's that the VP had to come in. No Democrat was coming in and going, we own this because the VP can come in and cast the tie-breaking vote in the Senate. We have clearly won the battle for political hearts and minds in the country. We know it was a squeaker, and we treated it as such. The Republicans, however, can't stop saying mandate, and yet they have to bring Vance in to cast the tie-breaking vote, to give you an example of how full of shit they are. On top of that, Trump doesn't give a crap about Elon Musk's subsidies and how he's apparently taking the government for a ride until he turns on the guy. And anybody who wants to get in business with Trump or thinks that he's going to join the Trump train or jump on it, understand this is the future that awaits you. Because if he will do this to the richest guy in the world, what chance do you have, asshole? I would like to remind House Republicans, who's gonna, Musk put this thing up a couple of days ago where he was like, he's only got one more term, but I'm going to be around for 40 more years or something. There's kind of something to that financially. There's not a lot that the Trumps offer the world after they no longer have power, right? Just saying. I mean, Trump, when he stops being president, goes from like leader of the free world to Dan Quayle in about an hour. That's the reality of the presidency, as it should be. Because even a Republican, were they to win in another cycle 8 years from now or something like that, isn't going to go, wonder what Trump thinks about this in his Adderall haze. So I'm just going to enjoy them chewing each other's necks. I do not expect at any point that they will come to terms about any of this. This is only going to get worse, just like Trump's mental state. So, America's toilet war of politics. Yeah, we're not alone in it, by the way. I don't trust any of them, Elon included. Me neither. Right? What's in Ivana's coffin? I don't know, but whatever it is, it can't compare at all to what's on a thumb drive that Elon has, because I would remind you that there are Doge operatives that are more loyal to Elon Musk in every department around Donald Trump than there are people that Donald Trump can send to fuck around with Elon Musk. And we'll get into that in kind of a minute. Elon still has a niche in Doge. Well, that's exactly it. Thanks for talking off the ledge. Believe me, like I said, it is going to be the responsibility of blue states to make up the slack created by this bill, and they will do it. And the SALT tax will help, in part to do that. There will also be kind of like state tax things that they will do that precede federal tax. that are under the SALT definition, so that you can keep more money in the state instead of sending it to the federal government. And the big blue states they already have a myriad of ways to do that in New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco, Silicon Valley, that kind of stuff. But it will spread as well. Washington State has a few. They will continue to do that. And it will be the red states and the no income tax states and the stuff that are normally ahead in this situation that will actually fall behind, because they rely on the federal dollars. One of the reasons why some of these states cannot have an income tax for the state is because they would be a net taker of federal dollars anyways. So it makes no sense to send federal dollars, to take income tax out that's just going to go to the federal government anyways and come back, because they can't pay their own bills anyways. They want the federal government to do it. So if that makes sense. Why take state income tax out? Let it just be federal dollars. They'll heal it, because you couldn't raise enough internal income tax to make a dent. Just take the federal dollars. Clear? Yeah, clear? All right, so here's Trump outside this thing. This is where he threatens Elon Musk about this. I
think it's going to be great.
On his way to, asshole Alcatraz.
And then I'll be back here fighting for the bill, and I hear it's going okay. We'll move it along. But we'll be back here pretty early.
What do you think the president on the bill used in warning some Republicans?
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna also. I hate the fucking sound on this. But I'm gonna turn on the closed captions in case anybody you can't hear those guys.
Too crazy with the cuts. Are there parts of the bill or amendments that you think cut too much?
We're gonna have to see the final version. I don't want to go too crazy with cuts. I don't like cuts. There are certain things that have been cut, which is good. I think we're doing well. We're going to have to see. It's very complicated stuff. Great enthusiasm, as you know.
No, there isn't. There's not great. Okay, let's just knock off the bullshit. There's no great enthusiasm for anything where you've got a 50-50 vote and the VP has to cast a tie-breaking vote. That's not something Democrats could say when Kamala Harris had to do it, and it's not something they could say when J.D. Vance does it. And if either side is like, fuck yeah, and high-fiving about a 50-50 split where the VP had to come in, check yourself. Make sure you understand, even if you think your ideas are better, you have not convinced enough people that they are. You have not done the work. And this whole thing, there's super enthusiasm for this. If there was, you'd have Democrats signing onto it. But you don't. And you don't even have all Republicans.
And I think in the end we're going to have it. What do you think, Caroline? Yeah, I think it is.
What do you think about Goran Mamdani having such a hard...
Jesus Christ. Sorry about that, too. That's a rough one. God damn. It's weird. It's waggy. I don't know what he was wearing before this or whatever. I feel like, is this what happens when he has a tie on and then he takes it off?
Condemning the phrase globalize the intifada.
He goes, he's talking about Mamdani not decrying the phrase globalize the intifada.
I think he's terrible. He's a communist. The last thing we need is a communist.
Well, I would disagree. I mean, I think maybe the second to last thing. I mean, obviously, I don't know, maybe even a Satanist, probably. Like a genuine one, not the fuck around ones on the internet. You know what I mean? It's got to be something worse, right?
I said there will never be socialism in the United States. Now we have a communist. So I think he's bad news, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with him, watching him, because he has to come right to this building to get his money.
Also, I don't know what the fuck that means. He's got to come right through this doorway to get his money. Like, the mayor of New York, get his money? No. You're not going to use federal dollars to do free, public transportation in New York. That will be completely on the voters of New York City. That's the ice skate uphill that he's going to have to do. Now, what they might try to do is cut other funds to New York, because that's what allows them to free up local tax dollars to do the stuff that he wants. So that's how they'll start choking New York to try and stop these things from being successful. And again, it's going to take 4 to 6 years for whatever Mamdani puts in place in New York to actually stand on its own and show function and worth. And they know that, so they can just chip away at it forever, use him as a fucking piñata.
And don't worry, he's not going to run away with anything. I think he's frankly, I've heard he's a total nut job. I think the people of New York are crazy. If they go this route, I think they're crazy. We will have a communist for the first time, really, a pure, true communist.
What do we have before? Where they're just like, I mean, you mean an overt communist? I don't think he's an overt communist, though. I don't know. Again, this is when, if you want social services or you want a social safety net, suddenly you're a fucking communist. Even though if you vote for him and you vote to allow the taxes to go that way, that's not communism. That's just democratic taxation, no matter what the fuck you want. Because believe me, to be a full-on communist in this situation, if you open these grocery stores, let's say in New York that he wants to do, New Yorkers would have to be forced to rotate through working in them to be communism. They'd have to be city-run. This is the socialism part of it. But they'd have to be available to everybody to be socialism instead of just a welfare store, essentially. Like with goods instead of money. Effectively, you're just taking welfare and turning it into a directive. You can only, instead of giving you money to buy whatever you want, and you could argue that what Mamdani is talking about in terms of having city grocery stores is the same thing that Joe Manchin was saying about if you give the child tax credit to certain people, they'll just spend the money on drugs. They won't take care of their kids. You're better off starting a school and paying for that with taxpayer dollars where the kids can go and you know how it's run. So Mamdani is basically saying if you give poor people money of their own, they'll spend it on alcohol and drugs. But if you have a grocery store and an EBT level grocery store, we can guarantee the substance of what they're selling. So think of Bloomberg's like soda tax that he wanted to do about healthcare and stuff. Mamdani's not that far from it. It's just another package. So, and again, not communism, not really socialism, just social safety net and the management of tax dollars.
He wants to operate the grocery stores, the department stores.
No, he doesn't. He wants to. You could still have grocery stores and department stores, but the city would provide certain ones, like that would be the EBT level. Instead of people taking their EBT cards, I would presume, and going to bodegas and where it's largely junk food and shit like that. But like full-on grocery stores that would have a healthier selection is the assumption.
What about the people that are there?
What about the people that are there? All the people that are going to get fired because they're competing with a free grocery store. You mean the people that won't take EBT anymore because they've got EBT stores? So all the grocery stores that aren't these special ones will be like when hospitals, opt out of Obamacare or Medicaid. That's what it's going to be. They'll have the option to do that because you can't force somebody to take stuff that isn't reimbursed money. And if they drive they'll have more price flexibility than the EBT places. Because like most grocery stores have fluctuating prices through the day. You don't know that because you don't hang out in a grocery store all day. None of us do. But if you work in one, the prices are different in the morning or the afternoon. That's why we always see somebody walking around putting prices on shit. And that's the same box that was there earlier. Or they have those little tags in there because around evening when people are driving home, they put out the things that, the 2-for-1s on breakfast stuffs because people are buying for the next day.
I think it's crazy.
That's because you're stupid. Yeah. Because you can't comprehend reality at all.
Who?
What happened to Elon Musk?
What happened to Elon Musk?
Nothing. He's upset he's losing his EV mandate, and he's very upset about things, but he could lose a lot more than that. I can tell you right now. Hey.
This is where he switches into gears and talks like he talks in the White House as the dipshit mad with power that he is.
Elon can lose a lot more than that.
Yes, he can lose a lot more than that and still be the richest man in the world. I honest to God, motherfucker, I don't think he's worried. He also knows all the hackers. Like, that's why people were concerned about him getting his Doge assholes in all these places. Do you understand the genuine fear that people felt about Elon Musk having access to their social security number and their private health information, all that shit? The reason they were worried is because the team he's got with him knows what the fuck they're doing. They're not a bunch of blathering dipshits or like narcissistic racists like Stephen Miller or dopey motherfuckers like Hegseth. The team that Musk brought in are young and full of shit, but on a technical level, they know what they're doing. That's why there's legit concern there. Now, I'm all for him being the target of that anger and not me. And I will say there's a very strong chance that Anonymous is going to start getting files magically from a lot of different places. Because they know people who know people who know people.
We hope it's going to happen, and we're looking for it to happen sometime next week.
I think he's talking about an Iran talk or whatever.
We want to get our hostages back. We want to get the hostages back.
What if the big beautiful bill doesn't pass? You have to go through item by item by item and pass this stuff one at a time, or are you just going to try again?
I think we're going to get there. It's tough. We're trying to break it down so it's really good for the country. Trying to get a lot for everybody, and it's a big bill. And smaller bills would have been easy, but they wouldn't have been as good. I think it's going to do okay.
And when the alligator Alpha says,
Yeah.
Okay, now he's going to alligator act. So the big bill, he thinks smaller bills would be harder to do, but a big, beautiful bill is better, mainly because you can bully one vote. If he had to bully 12 votes, he does not have the political capital to do it. This is their one swing for the fences. He's going to spend all of his capital. They view this as their ACA. Right? And remember, when we tell everybody about the people that are going to die because of this and all that, as legitimately as we're all talking right now, what they hear is the same thing we heard when they said there were going to be death panels because of the ACA. They're totally blowing it off. And the ones that do believe it, like the Mike Lees of the world, honest to God, they view these people as expendable. There's a big chunk of Americans that are just taking up space. In their mind, a lot of them are immigrants who are taking Medicaid and that, are getting Social Security benefits or some shit like that. Or even first generation Americans who they view as new immigrants, not the immigrants that came in with legs, but like, one generation away, and those people they view as equally cheating and stealing from the system as people who snuck across the border. So they want to rescind a lot of that. That's what the birthright citizenship is about. Is that they think they can help with the solvency of Social Security over time if they eliminate this large group of people that they perceive as getting all this stuff for free from the taxpayer, when it doesn't even fucking make a dent. But that's the lie they're telling themselves. So as much as we're pointing out everything that we're pointing out, what they're hearing is death panels, and they're shrugging it off as well.
The idea that if some illegal immigrant escapes, they just get eaten by an alligator or a snake or something?
I guess that's the concept. This is not a nice business. I guess that's the concept. If snakes are fast.
Oh, this is is the point. If they try to run, they'll be eaten by an alligator or a snake.
But alligators, we're going to teach them how to run away from an alligator, okay? If they escape prison. How to run away. Don't run in a straight line. Run like this. And you know what? Your chances go up about 1%. Okay? Not a good thing.
Also, Trump has a drastic fear of having to run. I mean, you've seen Biden, even at his advanced age, riding a fucking bicycle. He also, if you'll see him chug sometimes, like he'll walk like that. Trump never does. Even when he's dancing, his feet are locked. You'll notice none of his dancing involves footwork because he's afraid he will fall down. Every ramp he sees scares him. He is terrified of stairs now, largely because of ego. He's afraid that after how much he made fun of Biden, his one slip on the steps so far has been making the rounds and continues to bring joy to people like us every day. But he knows there's another slip in his future because he's staring down the barrel of decrepit old age and a fading brain, and he knows it. So there are little stories when he starts to tell him where he tells on himself, where he's definitely talking about the idea of running to him is terrifying. That's why he said it only increases your odds 1%. That's because he can't even jog back and forth, much less run in a straight line. He just knows that if an alligator came from him, it's all done.
What are you going to talk to Netanyahu about next Monday?
Well, he's
What are you going to talk to Netanyahu about next Monday?
coming here. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about the great success we had. I mean, we had an incredible, in Iran, we had an incredible success, like really nobody's had in many, many years. That was a precision war strike, and the word obliteration can now be used because
No, it can't.
the Atomic Energy Commission said you can't even get into the place. It was
Yeah, asshole. We're making the case that those 3 places you hit were not the only places they had this stuff. And if they truck the stuff out, who gives a fuck how hard you hit an empty building? If you only hit 50% of the shit because they removed 50%, then no matter what you did to the building, if you vaporized the fucking thing with a Jewish space laser, from a cannon mounted on the fucking moon, it wouldn't matter to the program itself. If the stuff still exists and the triggers still exist and they have access to ballistic missiles through Pakistan or Russia, which they do, both of those countries have said so, then then nothing has been obliterated. You can argue that it hasn't even been paused, that they are really accelerating, if anything.
demolished. It was really demolished.
Yeah, nobody cares if the building was demolished, if the shit wasn't in there when it was demolished.
It was a great, brilliant strike, and how to go forward. We're also going to talk about Gaza. We want to get the rest. We got a lot of hostages.
You hear that? We gotta get the rest.
Go forward. We're also going to talk about Gaza. We want to get the rest. We got a lot of hostages back, but we're going to talk about Gaza.
Does that sound like a 2-state solution? Hashtag uncommitted? Does that sound like he's committed to stabilizing Gaza and turning it into a second state for the Palestinians where they can govern themselves? Or does it sound like our priority is getting the hostages out, alive or dead, and we got to fuck that place up until we do? Because I guarantee that's what he and Netanyahu are talking about. All that shit about he didn't visit Netanyahu and he was, tepid in his support of Israel at one point turned out to be complete horseshit. We bombed Iran, a sovereign country, which we haven't done since fucking Iraq. Because even in Afghanistan, we went after training camps and the Taliban wasn't a recognized government. Iraq had a recognized government. As awful as it was the actual government of the fucking country. Same thing about Iran. Also, do we have a Democratic president that's done that? Anyone since? Especially that a country that wasn't, say, in a civil war and we picked a side or something like that? Chat room, check me on this. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it is bullshit. I'm trying to think if a Democratic president has bombed a sovereign country's own facilities as opposed to not in response to something, but directly just on behalf of another country in the last 40 years. Iraq had invaded Kuwait, right? That would be, they were slant drilling into Kuwait, and then this dust up happened, and on behalf of Kuwait, we attacked Iraq on their behalf, and that would be George H.W. Bush. Then, Serbia and Kosovo were a split country and non-recognized governments, right? So that's Clinton. That's not the same thing as attacking, say, the Capitol buildings of a recognized capital or something like that. And then we get, of course, Bush 2, and that was Iraq and Afghanistan. And then again, Biden and Obama both hitting places like Houthi-controlled territories of Yemen, but not stuff that's the Yemeni government has control of, or same thing with Syria. But then Trump comes in and hits Iran. Right? Yeah, Korea, not since Korea and Vietnam, right? Yeah, Serbia had a UN resolution, right, to protect themselves, right? Kind of matters. I just asked ChatGPT. I'd rather talk to you, Templeton. And I also like the fact that we were all able to work it out amongst ourselves. Right? Patiently waiting for Epstein to drop the Epstein files, for Elon to drop the Epstein files and tell that he rigged the election. Oh, I think we're headed in that direction. We shall see. All right, there we go. So this is, Trump bombed Iran on behalf of Israel in coordination with them because he's fucked up the Iran deal we had and then couldn't get another one.
I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is?
A lie, a previous organization that exists, like the digital aspect of the White House that's been like a mini department that you change the name of.
Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible? He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look...
Yeah, there was no EV mandate. What he means is just emissions standards. Safety and anti-pollution standards that they just think are too high and drift us towards electric vehicles or emission-free vehicles sooner than they would like to sell. I mean, or they would like to, and mainly this is about oil companies, not even car companies, because kind of I gotta tell you, car companies, if we had the infrastructure for charging stations and we built towards a faster charging system, we don't have to. It's like car companies give a shit. Wouldn't they rather not be on the hook for oil prices and the fluctuation of it? Wouldn't you just rather buy the vehicle instead of worrying about whether or not, the basing your new car buy on whether or not its gas prices are going to be through the roof or lower over the holiday season, shit like that? When you just want to buy a vehicle because it's a great vehicle that you can power anywhere with solar panels or off your house's grid or from an electric charger someplace, but it won't fluctuate with energy prices. Again, you could charge an electric car with solar panels from your own fucking house and a battery system in a way that you cannot create gas even if you had an oil rig in your backyard.
Not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric,
Maybe you don't have a driver's license, so sit the fuck down.
Hybrid, maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem: it blows up.
No, it doesn't. And by the way, the reason he keeps bringing this up is because South Korea and Japan have been working on hydrogen as an energy source, and they're working towards solid hydrogen instead of gas hydrogen as a way of using, like these cartridges or stuff that you can put in a car. But even the hydrogen gas cars that that Honda's been working on, they've got a station it's down near El Segundo. It's close to the airport, Hawthorne, that kind of area where Honda's motorcycle headquarters is. They have a hydrogen station there for the hydrogen Honda cars, and they're fucking great. And you can shoot them with a 357 Magnum. It might puncture the engine and destroy it, but it won't make the tank blow up because they know it's compressed gas and they know that it's dangerous. It also, though, once a hydrogen car blows up or the fire happens on it, it's instantly out, unlike a lot of bad batteries on electric cars, which can burn for hours or days or reignite later.
So I'm going to give that one to Peter. I'm going to let Peter test it out. The hydrogen cars, and when they blow up, it's serious. They find you 5 blocks away. It's that good.
Also, any car you're in that blows up, they're going to find you all over the place.
Are there any countries we can expect to see before the July 9th deadline?
Everything's going well. Honestly, everything. This is very complicated because it's very big, a lot of different areas. Look, the Republicans have their heart in it. The Democrats they just want to destroy a country. A Democrat wants to destroy the country.
A Democrat wants to destroy the country by letting people vote. That's guilty as charged. Even if I hate this asshole, I still want him to be able to have a say in government because, I'm a Democrat. I believe everybody should have the right to vote. As long as you haven't legally forfeit that by being a murderer or a rapist or something and being a felon in jail, or you haven't done your time yet, or as long as you're a citizen over the age of 18, I want you to vote. And maybe that means I want to destroy the country. When it comes to maggots, it seems like it sometimes, but I don't.
Don't vote on it. They don't vote on anything.
They vote on a lot of stuff. They passed an infrastructure bill and the CHIPS Act. There's a huge extra giveaway in this big budget busting bill, an extension of and a like an add-on to the CHIPS and Science Act funding that literally is it takes the cap on it and makes it basically unlimited. That's one of the reasons why it blows a hole in the budget, is because they were expecting at least some money coming in from the chip companies that were moving in. Trump has basically made it effectively free. And that's one of the reasons Chip Roy and those guys are flipping out, because that was added to the bill.
The biggest tax cut in history.
No, it isn't. It's the same. It's maintaining the one that we already have.
Everything is the biggest in history.
Yes, biggest addition to the debt in history, biggest raise in the debt ceiling in history. Yeah. Biggest gap in Medicaid coverage in history.
The best bill we've
biggest number of dead people caused by a single bill
ever had. We can't get one Democrat vote.
Right, and I would like to applaud the Democrats for telling him to go fuck himself. Not a one. Why should you care, asshole? I thought you had a mandate. Right? Didn't you have a mandate? Didn't you, wasn't it a historic win? You won 7 swing states and all this stuff. I don't understand why why any Republicans aren't interested in voting for whatever the fuck you want with your mandate, right? Why would you care if Democrats don't want to vote that way? You should have plenty of Republicans lining up to do it. They should be fucking whistling like munchkins.
When do you think you'll get final? When do you think you'll get final?
Nice guy, Peter. What do you think?
Very nice guy.
When do you think you'll get final passage of the bill?
Hopefully soon. Hopefully today, if we can. Final passage. When I say final is, let's take Senate at a time, okay?
Right. Final passage is after the House. The Senate passed it.
But I think Senate could be today, and we go over to the House.
And what about Senator Murkowski? Is there any way to placate her?
Who knows? You tell me. You tell me. Is there? Alaska's done so well with me. There's never been a president better to Alaska than me.
Why? How do you even begin to unpack how stupid that is? Based on what? Drilling? Allowing for drilling?
But it doesn't mean people appreciate it. Have a good time.
And this ends up being like, you can't hear it. Yeah. That part gets obviously it's audio issues. Not that he's saying anything valuable, I'd like to remind you. Now there is a little more of, and I think this is CSL. I think this is like the rest of the Maria Bartiromo interview that he did on Fox Business. We'll be doing that. It's the House Parks radio program, Megaworldwide, on Saturdays. It's a morning show on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's it's Monday through Friday on the afternoons. It's what else do we have? The 15th of July is Ultimate Jam Night. We're doing like 80s on the Strip music, and then what else? 25th of July is the next Flapper show for our Patreon folks. Thank you guys so much for your wonderful support. So we get to do a free comedy show each month. I may be adding another one. There's another venue in LA that needs a little bit of help growing. So it might be a thing where I do a regular free show there, and then I would stream it to you guys. Fingers crossed. I think we'll do it. That would be 2 a month. That'd be kind of awesome. And then what else do we have? Oh, and then the 12th in Chicago. If you're in the Chicago area, at Max and Benny's in Northbrook, we're going to do another live version of the radio show. People from Crooks and Liars are going to be there. Nat Z will be there, and Richard Chu will also be joining us, and Johnny Million will be with me, and then he has to run off and do a show that night, so he'll bug out afterwards, and I'm there for the Hoodie Bash that night, which is a charity concert, which I believe is sold out, so sorry. Just what happens. Once they announce I'm a part of something, it sells out. I don't know what to tell you. So that's our shows, and then this drippy shit. Okay, here he is, whining at Maria Bartiromo.
President Trump sat down with Maria
sat down.
6 months.
He shat down, I think.
The economy and tariffs.
Mr. President, what a 6 months, 5.5 months you've had, and now you talked about inflation. Egg prices are down, oil prices are down, gas.
Egg prices aren't down.
Gasoline is down.
No, they're not.
Wages are up. The last time we spoke, you were reluctant.
By the way, wages are up because of the Social Security addition that Biden put on last year that paid out this year in March, April, and May. It's not a permanent change.
To say anything about the potential of a recession, how are you feeling about the second half of the year in terms of the economy?
Well, we've been right on everything, and the critics, you know, not all were critics. A lot of them said, look, I'm just going to bank on Trump, because I have been right about everything practically.
Well, the
right?
markets are at all-time highs as well, by the way.
Look how well I did in the first term. We had a great first term.
Yeah, that's because people are betting on Taco. They're betting on him chickening out. So they don't want to lose the stock. They don't want to sell when stuff hits the fan anymore because they know he's full of shit.
And I think this is going to be better. Don't forget, you know, you mentioned the eggs, and I know why, because I walked in. I'm there for about 4 days. I just came in, and the press started screaming at me, eggs are through the roof. I said, that's not my problem. That's
Got here, you said.
It is. It became my problem. But we did a great job. Brooke Rollins did a fantastic job. Now you get eggs at low prices. When I first came in, eggs were through the roof. Food was through.
Well, yeah. What was that? Food was through the roof. Also, eggs are food. But sure. What were eggs when you came in, and what were eggs when? What are eggs now?
Roof. Groceries were through the roof, and it's all way down right now. And gasoline is down. A lot of it follows energy.
Also, no, it isn't. Gas isn't down. Gas is fairly steady. Hold on one second. Let me grab this real quick. Let's take a look. Let's do our little fact check, shall we? Let's grab this right here. Average gas prices. Let me move this up here and put this back over here and put this here. And then where is it? Where was I? I close that. Open this. There we go. Back to here. And then we'll go to gas prices U.S. Allow. Let's see. State average, okay. State gas price averages. Let's do this. Today's AAA is 317. This is the red, white, and blue areas, whatever. The lowest are these areas right here. Higher ones are up here, and then these are the top, whatever. The red states. Alaska is not doing great. $3.71. State gas prices. Regular mid-grade diesels of the Alabama 2.7, premium is 3.6, Arkansas, the Arizona's 3.9, $5 in California, Colorado's 3.7, Connecticut 4.1, DC 4.3, Delaware $4, Florida 3.85. Georgia's $3.77. Hawaii's $5. That's not surprising. Iowa's $3.74. Yeah, I don't know. Where's this $1.80 business that he keeps talking about? Anybody? Let's look at the cheapest. Where's the? I don't know what the cheapest gas would be. Let's see, regular. Let's go to here. Yeah, the lowest is $2.71 in Mississippi, where, of course, the cost of living across the board is ass. Now, shall we check also egg prices trend? April, March. The highest was $8.64. Now it's back. Let's see, September, November was the lowest part of it. We're at $2.51. In October of last year, it was $2 even. It went up because of everybody's expectations, because of bird flu, and then it came down very steeply because of bird flu from March 5th to March 18th. So, yeah, see, beef. Okay. This is for the year. Here you go. This is beef price is kind of static. Up 40% for the year. Feeder cattle down is up 17% for the year. Live cattle's up 13% for the year. Lean hogs up 22 for the year. Poultry's up 2.48 still. And then eggs up 22% for the year. It's down 7.78 for the year. That would be the rise and drop because of bird flu. Crude oil up 0.48%. This is the actual 65. This is the commodity index on this. up 31 cents essentially. There's Brent crude up 44. Natural gas up is down 4 cents. And gasoline is up 3 cents, up 1.5%. Heating oil up, gold up. That's usually a panic purchase. Okay. So, yeah, nope. Everything's cheap. Nothing costs anything anymore. Yeah. Nope. Why did that shrink down? Okay.
You know, energy is a big, big factor. If you get energy down, you're going to be okay, generally speaking, with it. Not necessarily 100%, because spending is a very big part of it, too. But
yeah, spending is a big part of inflation. That's where how much money's in circulation matters. And now, if people aren't, if gas goes down a lot, that money that would be spent on gas is still in circulation. Therefore, the costs of other stuff can go up. The profitability of everything else goes up when the necessity of gas goes down. So maybe you can cut some of your fuel costs off on it, but if you're maintaining at this price and people have got extra money and they're not paying it at the gas pump, your egg price doesn't seem that bad anymore.
you get energy down like I did, you know, we have been drilling like crazy.
No, we have not.
And frankly, other countries have been helping us. If you look at Saudi Arabia, some of the others, they've been helping because they understand it. It all...
No, they held off as long as they could, and then the minor players in OPEC Plus all cried uncle because they could not undersell themselves in an attempt to help Russia win the Ukraine war.
We'll stop the war with Putin, you know, with Russia, because Russia makes its money with energy. There's a big difference between fighting a war at $100 a barrel and at $50 a barrel. But I think we're going to get that done. I think Putin won.
Not if you have it. If part of your cost is that energy and you can just use your own, if you have a lot of supplies, you can just buy other shit with your money.
To do it?
If you're like, like the United States could do this too, probably certain countries in the Middle East. China couldn't do it though. China has to get oil from elsewhere. So if oil went through the roof, they have to buy it. They don't make enough to cover, their anywhere close to their consumer use, much less their military use. So they would have to get it someplace else. And if the price went way up, they wouldn't be able to buy other shit or pay workers to do stuff. So they'd be kind of screwed. Russia can just they can use their own supply during this. They don't have to sell it to make money. And then even the break-even price doesn't tell the whole story because you can just use it for yourself. So you might not be making as much profit on it, but what little profit you might make on a lower end or in a relationship with someone, you might be able to trade directly. Like, here's oil for arms, which is what they did with Iran and China in a couple cases.
I've been saying that for a little while now, but Putin wants to do it, and...
No, he doesn't.
Ukraine wants to do it.
All right. So
Ukraine wants Russia to get the fuck out, and rightly so.
July 9th is coming up. What are you going to do about the end of the pause in the tariffs?
It's so simple. We're sending...
It's simple.
Letters out. I'd rather do it now. My guys, hey, I have great guys, Scott, Howard, other people, Jameson.
Other people. Yes, those three people. Other people.
They're talking to all these countries. We made a deal pretty much with India. We made a deal with China. We made
pretty much. I mean, who needs more than that?
A deal with UK, great people.
We have a trade deficit with them. They buy more from us than we buy from them.
Deals, but I'd rather just send them a letter, a very fair letter, saying, congratulations, we're going to allow you to trade in the United States of America. You're going to pay a 25% tariff, or 20%, or 40 or 50%. I would rather do that. So
what the fuck? No. What do you mean, congratulations? Say that to anybody who has to buy shit in this country from those countries that they make a product from. If you assemble a product, you make something in this country using parts from other countries or supplies or materials from another country, they're the ones paying this 25% or 50% tax. The idea that, again, I think he's counting on this eating up the excess money in circulation because they've all bit the bait on this money printer go burr horse shit, that there's too much money in circulation.
When I get around...
Hold on. There's a national weather. There's a dust storm warning. starting at 5 o'clock. It almost blew our furniture away in the backyard. We have a little like rug under a couple of pieces of furniture. It lifted the chair off of it and it was crazy. I was outside holding down a carpet a little bit ago, and my mom was laughing at me. It was a good time. By the way, CSL, be careful.
You're not going to extend the pause?
Oh, the audio switched over on this. Hold on one second.
I don't think I'll need to.
I can't hear it, so I've got to go in here. Missing monitor device. There we go. Hold on. my headphones. Let's go to here. Where are they? There they are. Come back here, you silly thing. All right.
Because I could. No big deal. It's like TikTok. I'm extending that, but no big deal.
It's a big deal. Extending TikTok is a big deal. I mean, it's tracking software on people's phones. Dummy.
We have a buyer for TikTok, by the way. I think I'll
No, you don't.
need probably China approval, and I think President Xi will
You'll need probably China approval. Why? Because they own half of it? More than half of it?
probably do it.
Who's the buyer?
They're not going to do it.
I'll tell you in about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
A big technology company in America?
Very, very wealthy people. It's a group of very wealthy people.
Yeah, a bunch of, it's great. It's like the same people that were buying the Chiefs in Slapshot.
But what I want to do is, and what I will do just sometime prior to the 9th, is we'll send a letter to all these countries. There's 200.
Tell all your, sorry, my cousin was like, here we go again. Yeah, there it is. Dust storm warning has been issued, expires at 5 o'clock. Yep, that's it.
Countries. You can't talk to all of them. No matter how many people you have, you can't talk to all of them.
Well, then don't start a fucking trade war with all of them at the same time, dipshit.
Send a letter, and we'll say we would consider it a great honor, and this is what you'll have to do to shop in the United States. We're like a
Shop. They're selling their shit here, dummy. We're the ones buying. What do you mean shop? It's not a surcharge of what they buy from us. Jesus Christ. He says this all the time, like, we're the department store of the world, and therefore, no, we're the customers that come into the department store. At least get the analogy right. It's completely backwards, and it speaks to the fact that he might think maybe he thinks it's the other way. Maybe he thinks that's why he thinks people, like other countries, pay the tariffs. Because he thinks they're buying from us.
department store to shop in the United States.
Yeah, they don't shop. We're buying their shit when tariffs are involved. We don't tariff stuff on the way. We don't have an export tax, do we?
And you'll pay a 25% tariff, and we wish you a lot of luck. And that's the end of the trade deal. Because we have something that nobody has. But if I...
What? Suckers?
get elected, I'm telling you, we wouldn't have had a country left. You know that better than anybody. Nobody covers it better than you. If I didn't turn this thing around, this big ship...
Gibberish.
...around, we turned...
Horseshit.
...it around. Just like those ships coming out of China, they were coming and loaded, and in the middle of the ocean, they were forced to go back because...
Right, because people here couldn't afford to pay the tariff, so they canceled their order. What?
It was at 145% tariff. Walmart, nobody wanted their product. And that...
Right. They couldn't afford those products, which they can't really get from anywhere else right now.
...was a big problem for China. And then
and a huge problem for Walmart.
I helped China.
So
why?
Reducing it.
We still don't know. We don't have the clarity on what you're going to do with these expiration of the...
Because he doesn't know, dipshit.
Pauses July 9th.
No, I think I thought I just said it. No, I thought I just said it. You ready?
You're going to send the letters.
I'm going to send letters. That's the end of the trade deal. I could send one to Japan. Dear Mr. Japan.
Jesus Christ. Dear Tim Apple, I'm writing on behalf of Mr. Japan. Mr. Japan.
Here's the story.
Here's a story about Mr. Japan.
You're going to pay a 25% tariff on your cars, you know. So we give Japan no cars. They won't take our cars, right? And yet we take millions and millions of their cars into the United States. It's not fair. And I explained that to Japan, and they understand it. And we have a big deficit with Japan, and they understand that too. Now, we have oil. They could take a lot of oil. They could take a lot of other things, but
which they do, including rice, ironically enough.
Basically, and I'm for doing it right now, we send letters out to all of the countries explaining to them,
if we buy more cars than you buy, then you have to buy the same amount of cars, even if you don't have you have 1/5 the fucking people of our country. How are we supposed to do that? Well, everybody in your country has to buy 5 American cars for every car you sell in the United States. Are you insane?
At the deficit we have, or whatever it is with the country. We'll look at how a country treats us. Are they good? Are they not so good? Some countries we don't care. We'll just send a high number out. But we're going to be sending letters out starting pretty.
Yeah. By the way, he's going to be sending out a bunch of these like high letters just to countries that we don't buy anything from, just to sound like a tough guy to maggots. Like he's going to be sending shit to like Nigeria and Chad and Burkina Faso and fucking I don't know El Salvador and go we don't need your shit. So we're 125%. Look how tough we were with these folks. They won't screw us anymore.
Soon. No, we don't have to meet. We understand. We have all the numbers. Listen, what we're going to do is we're going to send, and we're going to say.
He said this before, Shark Day on that Tuesday where he fucked around with this. That's what they were talking about. Like, this is the same thing like Nutlick and all these guys were saying. We've got this big bill from the Trade Commission. We have all this, this data. We'll just do it based on this data. This is what they've been saying all along. Nothing has changed, is my point. There have been no deals. There was no movement in any of this shit. They're just falling back to their original premise, which was ass.
Congratulations, we're allowing you to shop in the United States of America. You go
shop. Jesus Christ. They're not going to buy our goods. They're just going to match Jesus.
Going to pay a 25% tariff or a 35% or a 50%.
Who the fuck pays a tariff to buy something?
50% or 10%.
I mean, besides the people who are trying to buy it in the United States because we end up paying it.
I'll tell you what the U.S. automakers are worried about. They don't want Japan and Korea to have a lower tariff if you do a deal with them than the U.S. automakers are paying.
Well, the U.S. automakers...
That was a fun edit because this is the part where like, what? How does that work? Because he fucking doesn't know.
Do a deal with them, then the U.S. automakers are paying.
Well,
Jesus, like that was, they couldn't even hide the edit that time.
U.S. automakers are going to be so busy selling cars in the U.S., they're not going to even have to worry about it. But that won't happen. Because I set a tariff. Let's say I take a certain country and I set a tariff at 25 and they're charging 35 or 40. I'll raise the tariff to 35 or 40. And they'll come down.
I want to ask you about AI because...
Jesus. While we're talking about shit you don't understand at all, let's jump to AI.
There are a couple of companies that are announcing layoffs. They're actually cutting people. Some of these companies are blaming tariffs. Some of these companies are blaming they're blaming a consumer slowdown, and other people are blaming AI. Okay, you've got Procter.
By the way, tariffs is what's bringing the companies in. We have auto companies building plants where they wouldn't have built here in 100 years. We have more investment in the United States.
I got news for you, asshole. In 100 years, the idea that we'll be building car factories is absurd.
States right now that we've ever had before.
Gibberish.
Think of it. Yeah, we're up to almost $15 trillion. Look at this guy from last year. What kind of numbers they were to people leaving? They weren't coming in. Now they're coming in.
Like you've said, you brought wealth back to America.
Wealth and spirit back. We have spirit. People.
Yeah, and spirit is better than wealth, if you really think about it.
We respect our country again. You know, it's very important. I'm a cheerleader also for the country, aside from everything.
God damn. They've AI'd this audio. I don't know what they did. Either he was getting too slurpy or whatever. Do you guys notice the audio difference? They've done an AI ISO on this. You should have to label it.
Else, like you are. We brought spirit back. We brought respect and dignity back. When I went to the European Union, I was in that beautiful place with the king and the queen. And
what was the name of that place? The Palace. I'll remember it later.
It was like beautiful. Everything's so nice. But when I went to the Netherlands, And I looked, everybody was coming up, Mr. President, Mr. President. They didn't do that a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. These are the big countries. This is Germany and France and all of them.
It's because they didn't have to. We were just doing normal business. Now they have to bullshit you, and they figured you out.
I mean, a big group of countries. They respect America again. They laughed at us. They thought we were a joke. You had a president that kept falling downstairs and falling on stages and couldn't find an entrance to, he makes a little speech that lasted for about a half a minute. And he looks around, he's looking for stairs. There's like 6 different stairs, and he can't figure out which stair. We were laughed at.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
All over the world.
No, you were, and you still are. God damn, dude, I gotta say, beyond the fact that this is just, in his fucking head, it's the fact that Biden lives rent-free in his head is, still at this point, is fucking stunning. It is clear that Donald Trump fears the fact that people think of Biden as a good man and him as a orange piece of shit. And he knows that the people around him are telling him this story all the time, but he knows they're telling him this story because he needs to hear it, and they think he needs to hear it, and they know he's aware that people prefer Biden as a human being to him, and always will.
More importantly than that, what they did to the country. What they did to the country with.
All right, asshole. She's asking you what you're doing to the country. So the jobs are going away because they're starting to lay people off because of AI. They're starting to do it because of tariffs and consumer sentiment. That's what she was asking you about. Not about consumer sentiment and AI and job layoffs last year, this year, right fucking now.
Allowing 21 million people is.
They didn't let 21 million people in, or you would have a lot more fucking deportations happening. You wouldn't have to deport 4-year-olds with fucking cancer.
Will never be forgotten. And I have to rectify that problem, and we've done it. And we're getting all the criminals out.
All right,
Yeah, just kind of dodged that shit entirely. Yeah? Do they come back to it? They just bailed out on that? Yeah, I guess so. Oops. So he never went back to why why people are getting laid off and the jobs that are going away because of tariffs, because of AI, because of this stuff. Just blowing it off entirely. Oh, okay. Now, couple of things. I want to grab something that was a little more fuck around and silly. Are we good on time? Yeah, okay. There is, where is this? Yeah, these dipshits. So, there's this pushback. Benny Johnson is doing this thing about Trump saying that he could deport Elon, or somebody asks about deporting Elon.
Friends, join us!
And
it's back on between Elon show.
Wants to build, so I don't want to waste it.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. This is the part of the show where the main characters fight, and the battle is back on between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Donald Trump now talking about.
Okay, first of all, fuckwad, not a story. These are real people in real positions of power. There's the president of the United States and the quote-unquote richest man in the world who genuinely have control over millions of lives or their simple decisions impact those lives. It ain't a story. And if these assholes are fighting, it will harm some folks and benefit others. Right now, we're on the benefit side. But either way, whichever one of them comes out on top, it's going to harm more people than it's going to help because they're both awful. That's real. It's not a story.
Elon Musk. Okay, here we go. That escalated quickly. What's happened over the last 24 hours? Late last night, Elon Musk said he's going to start a new political party if the big, beautiful bill gets passed. Elon Musk says that the bill spends way too much money. It's going to add a lot of money and a lot of deficit to the national deficit and trillions of dollars. And
it's going to add deficit to the deficit? Wow. That must be, how did they even do that?
Donald Trump wants the big, beautiful bill passed for a number of reasons: marquee legislation accomplishments and achievements, and also border security. We happen to be at Alligator Alcatraz right now recording this video, waiting for the president. It's freaking awesome. Anyway, the point is that...
Right, because these guys get direct marching orders from the White House and talking points from Caroline Leavitt directly because there's no such thing as independent journalism on the right. The minute Trump takes over, he puppets them. They all get a hand up the ass.
There's a lot of arguments to be made, obviously, on both counts, but the president is going to get what he wants, and the big, beautiful bill is about to pass. Elon Musk saying that he must tank the bill. Elon Musk is wanting to tank the bill, saying that he's going to run against anyone who votes for it in the Senate. There's a big threat because Elon Musk has obviously gone berserker mode on senators before, saying that he's going to primary them and that he's the richest man in the world and that he'll come after them. Donald Trump didn't take kindly to this. President Trump spoke nicely about Elon Musk just a day ago on a Sunday morning interview, but now President Trump is gone ballistic and said he's going to be cutting Elon Musk's subsidies. He might turn Doge on Elon, and...
All right, we saw this. Like, he's just relating this part. He plays this piece of the shit or whatever. Let's see what his opinion is of this, but...
This is a massive change of tone. Things have, again, deteriorated. This makes us sad because we...
It does. Wouldn't you just be, if you were a fucking adult, wouldn't you just be concerned about the political ramifications of this? But it makes you sad. It actually makes you sad.
I want President Trump and Elon Musk to get along. A lot of people are saying that this is because of the EV mandates that are being taken out, stripped out of this legislation. And Donald Trump has said this on Truth Social, that, hey, listen, I'm not going to give a big handout to people to buy an EV. This is not what the federal government's here for. We're not going to push electric vehicles. Nothing wrong with them, but we're not going to go into debt to give people credits for electric vehicles.
Not for this.
President Trump had a very different tone this weekend on Maria Bartiromo's show. When he was asked about Elon Musk, he just said, hey, listen, he's a great guy.
Hey, he's great.
They talked. We just disagree on that.
This was a massive decision.
Mr. President, have you spoken to Elon Musk? What happened there?
What happened?
I think he's a wonderful guy. I haven't spoken to him much, but I think Elon is a wonderful guy, and I know he's going to do well always. He's a smart guy, and he actually went and campaigned with me, and this and that. But he got a little bit upset, and that wasn't appropriate.
Why did he get upset? He just wasn't getting what he wanted?
Look, the electric vehicle mandate, the EV mandate is a tough thing for him, I would think. I don't want everybody to have an electric car. I campaigned on, you have a choice. If you want a gasoline car, if you want a hybrid.
That's all I want is a choice.
I love the electric. I love his cars. I think he's fantastic. But not everybody should have that.
No.
Not everybody wants that.
Especially
and
poor
Biden
people.
was so stupid. He said everybody has to have an electric car by 2030. Okay? I think he said by 2030, which is in 5 years, people don't want that. And how do you do that when you don't have enough electricity? You go to California, where they want everybody to have an electric car, and yet they have brownouts and blackouts every weekend.
Mr. President, let me end on the big, beautiful...
Unfortunately, that deterioration...
Except they don't? What the fuck is he talking about? Does he know California doesn't have... He's got golf courses there. Do the lights get shut off every fucking weekend? Is he forgetting to pay the bill at his properties there? And so the power goes out and it must be Newsom.
Has happened at light speed, and now we are here. Ladies and gentlemen, Elon Musk is rage posting about the big, beautiful bill. I don't understand how this is...
I don't understand what's happening. What is happening, Benny?
Thing to atomize the party or the strongest political allyship in American history over, but it is.
By the way, Ben Franklin and Lafayette would like a fucking word, you twit.
It is I guess the line in the sand.
I guess so. Must be.
That Elon is choosing. Last time Elon went, full in, saying that Trump's on the Epstein list and everything like that. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump didn't appreciate that. I didn't want there to be all-out war between these two guys. I obviously think
well, guess what?
Been stronger with them as allies and not as enemies. But unfortunately, here we are. Could Elon Musk be deported? Not a good idea, I would say. I hope that cooler heads can prevail and that people can get back on the train here. Again, we're fighting evils. We're fighting literal demons. We're fighting darkness in our time.
Hang on. What? hold on. Literal demons? What are you talking about? Like, I get that you guys, are concerned about the political ramifications of rich dude on rich dude violence. But actual demons? Shut the fuck up. You voted for the dude who was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for 25 years. You're there to suck him off in the Everglades, Benny. You took money from fucking Russia to lie to your fellow Americans, you piece of shit. The fuck are you talking about? Literal demons. Maybe that's what he means. Maybe the literal demons he's talking about are actually in the fucking White House. The problem is Benny likes all those people.
And Donald Trump didn't have signs at the RNC convention that said, balance the budget. That's not what the sign said.
Yeah, okay. He just said that things would be cheaper and easier and better and more beautiful and easier and cheaper and better and quicker and better and finished and immediate, and other people would do it, but they're stupid, and we're no longer going to be stupid, and it'll be fixed and great and amazing, and it will cost a lot less, and our debt's not going to go up, and we're going to be amazing, and the price of gas will go down.
And that's something important. But the signs at the RNC convention said mass deportations now.
Right, and you got to pay for those things. So there's a huge chunk of money in this bill that has to be passed because turns out Joe Biden was right. You do have to pass a bill if you want to pay for all this shit. You can't just appropriate it based on emergency funds.
And the big, beautiful bill is how you get it. It's Stephen Miller's dream legislation. And
yes, and there were big signs like pass Stephen Miller's dream.
We're going to be pushing for it. And we hope that Elon Musk...
Who the fuck is we? Who's we? Honestly. You're you on a show, you dumbass. This is the Benny Johnson show. You're by yourself. Even when Glenn Beck says, we at the Blaze, it's a little fucked up because he owns the place. It's your show, we. Shut the fuck up.
Locks back in, and we think he'll come back around.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. CSL, I know.
That's what we think. All right? Let me know what you think in the comment section here.
I think you're an asshole, and I think the literal demons you're concerned about are Jeffrey Epstein's ghost and Roy Cohn's ghost standing on either side, on each of Trump's shoulders, telling him to do something worse than the other. That's what they're doing. Like, yeah, do something terrible. No, do something genuinely terrible. No, do something horrifyingly terrible. No, do something genuinely evil. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. And meanwhile, he's going to be at a deportation detention camp that holds 3,000 people. And if there's 21 million people that Trump was saying got into the country, that it ain't going to help at all. Now, can we jump over some stupid shit? I honestly... Who had Jimmy Dore filleting Bongholio and Cash Patel for, this early into this thing? Me, everybody else.
No modern U.S. Supreme Court decision
of course,
has aroused more
ads
passion than
for
Roe v.
Prager. Right.
If you get attacked and you want to walk away with your life, do not use traditional martial arts.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Galliotti, and I'm the head of the...
DOJ executes largest healthcare fraud takedown. The U.S. Department of Justice has announced what it describes as the largest coordinated healthcare fraud takedown in its history, charging 324 defendants across 50 federal districts for schemes that involved approximately 14.6 billion in false claims submitted to programs like Medicare and Medicaid. The operation included the seizure of over 245 million in assets and highlighted involvement from international actors in Russia, Eastern Europe, and Pakistan, all friends of the Jimmy Dore show. Focusing on various fraudulent activities, including unnecessary medical equipment, billing, and identity theft for Medicare fraud.
Justice Department's Criminal Division. Thank you all for joining us today as we announce the largest coordinated healthcare fraud takedown in the history of the Department of Justice. Today marks a decisive moment in our fight to protect American taxpayers from fraudsters and to defend the integrity.
Oh, you mean like Rick Scott, or? I'm kidding.
Of America's healthcare system. We are announcing today charges against 324 defendants for their alleged participation in healthcare fraud schemes involving approximately $14.6 billion in false claims submitted to Medicare.
Or roughly almost as much as we gave Israel last weekend in bombs. Okay.
Wow.
Medicaid and other health care programs.
Okay, so
sorry, the idea is that it's meaningless or it's a big deal.
That's the big announcement. That was they charged 324 defendants across 50 federal districts for schemes that involved approximately $14.6 billion in false claims submitted to programs like Medicaid and Medicare. The operation included the seizure of
I already read that part.
For $245
Get on with it.
million in assets and highlighted involvement from international actors in Russia, Eastern Europe, Pakistan, focusing on various fraudulent activities.
Yeah, but in all fairness, Medicare was apparently talking about joining NATO, so Russia felt like it had to act.
Including unnecessary medical equipment billing and identity theft for Medicare fraud. And here's
Eastern Europe, would that be Ukraine by any chance?
I think they don't want to say Ukraine. Dan,
because there's no evidence that it was Ukraine. The weird part is that you don't want to say Russia. Apparently, that's the reaction.
Bongino says public corruption will not be tolerated as
comedy.
The whole government's one big grift. Are you kidding me?
Is he drunk? This is, by the way, Jimmy and these guys all talk about how the entire government is corrupt to hide behind the fact that they use that as a smokescreen because they don't want to cop to the fact that they were instrumental in getting Trump elected, and there is a difference in people's lives, and there are people's lives who are being upended and destroyed specifically because there is a difference between who's in charge. And by saying it doesn't matter who's in charge and that it's all corrupt, you can cover your own ass. You can say, well, I mean, what difference does it make which guy I support or which guy I helped get elected? Because they're all bad. Well, then why'd you help either one of them? Because you don't actually care?
Hey, when's that new Epstein evidence where we found out he acted alone and killed him and took his own life? Then the video's coming out any day now. Is that coming, Dan?
He says, I vigorously pursue bad actors who violated their oaths to all of us.
Unless it's Rick Scott, of course. The head of HCA, the healthcare company, formerly known as Columbia HCA, the largest for-profit hospital chain in the United States, agreed to plead guilty to criminal conduct and pay more than $840 million in criminal fines, civil penalties, and damages for alleged unlawful billing practices. That's Rick Scott. That's Rick Scott's company.
View the theft of public funds the same way. It's a crime against all of us. Today, in conjunction with the Department of Justice and our federal partners, we are announcing the results from the largest healthcare fraud investigation.
Yeah, so this is the show now. This is what Jimmy does now. He reads basically Bongholio's press releases.
Thursday, July 17th, financial losses in Department of Justice history. And I'm announcing my largest tour coming up. We're going to be back in Toronto on Thursday, July 17th, and resulted in nearly $3 billion in false claims with over $15 million illegal dollars. Results matter, he says. Talk is cheap, and this is not. If you're stealing from the public or violating your oath to serve, we're coming for you. God bless America and all those who defend her. And then Ann Vandersteel, she comes right back at him, Kurt, just like you did. And says, great job. Now, what about the violations of due process for January 6th community, for the vax injured, for the destroyed
yeah, that's all in your fucking head. It's a fantasy. I don't know. Why? Where is QAnon going to get a freedom rebate? Weren't they supposed to get Nasara Jasara by now?
Families of Child Protective Services.
That's a good one.
Where funding comes from HHS, SSA, and Title IX. What about the constitutionally guaranteed rights that have been violated over and over? Where's the accountability? The evidence is all there. We expect you to ask us if you need it. 5 times August chimes in also and says, just wait, it's coming any day now. We're going to get him. You'll see. It's happening. Not now.
Yeah. This is turned into the same thing that Ben Shapiro does, where they just like read people's. Is that what I mean? Maybe there's a whole fucking cottage industry. Can somebody explain this to me, chat room? I mean, I recognize that at least I'm reacting to the actual statements by the people involved and the messaging sphere that is built up around it. You know, directly what Trump says, directly what somebody like Chip Roy says, directly what candidates and politicians and spokespeople say, and the news media that supports them and their argument. But I obviously referenced the videos on this, but reading other people's content as your content seems like theft, right? Just reading other people's jokes or takes on stuff. Like, it's one thing if you're scanning something and you're seeing what the response is publicly to something that just came out or whatever, but this is just old shit. Look at what he's going after too. Look at the focus of these things. Is it Medicare and Medicaid fraud from someone like Rick Scott and the increased benefits for rich people against tax breaks for the working poor, or those kind of things, or trying to raise minimum wage, or any of that kind of stuff? The stuff that you would associate that Jimmy calls himself a leftist or on the left. No, what is it? COVID, Epstein, Benghazi, January 6th, Doge findings, Russia collusion, Ukraine impeachment. There's no justice in D.C., only theater for the peasants. And by the way, the Russia collusion, no arrests, they don't mean Trump or somebody who is involved in Russian collusion. They mean the people who made charges of collusion against Trump about Russia, which is, by the way, you'll never have those because they'll get discovery. And in that discovery, you'll be able to look at areas that Barr kept Mueller from looking into, namely the finances of Donald Trump, to prove that they had good reason to explore this, even though they were cut off from certain evidentiary elements when they wanted to make charges. Doge findings, what are you going to arrest? Because there's no fraud. Jan 6, no arrests, or I don't know. They just arrested one of the guys for murder and a couple of pedophiles that Trump let out, right? Also, who's getting arrested in Benghazi? I guess that what he means is Hillary.
Soft spot in his head.
So Butch Connors says, any updates on anything you talked about for 5 years until you became part of the swamp? And he retweets Dr. Simon Godek saying, COVID, no arrests. Epstein, no arrests. Justice in D.C. only
forever. Wow, that's better than I could say it. That's why I don't care about the new AI system that they're going to bring in, because it's the same ball. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Forever. They're all related, these people. You know that, right?
Cash Patel.
They're all related. So, sorry. I think there's the cabal that runs everything is now inbred, according to Kurt. And I think that's part of the whole, Jews and Orthodox Jews that run everything are inbred. That was the story that Hassan mentions. That's become the circulating point. They're all related.
FBI director, he says, $245 million seized, hundreds of defendants and medical professionals charged, and $15 billion in losses prevented in the largest coordinated healthcare fraud takedown in history. Well done to all the states and federal partners who pushed this.
Keep going, Cash. I'm about to blow. Come on, keep going. Let me just get me over that hill with your motherfucker.
Fatima Khan says, Republicans, before you vote...
Jesus Christ. Is that what it is now? They just fucking read tweets back and forth? That's it? Holy shit. The WHO called Stop Kurt, right. Yeah, these are all right-wing talking points. This is all fucking, like residual QAnon shit from fucking 3 years ago. So fucking lazy. How is that the show? I'm just saying subscribe. I'm putting on real programming here. And I'm actually breaking down what you're seeing. The stuff that isn't already broken down. And by the way, let me show you something. So here's, what show is this? This is on the Blase. This is on the Blaze. Waiting for Justice. Understand who Jimmy Dore allegedly is. He's, workers' rights and the poor and left of Bernie Sanders. That's the sales point, right? Wait, FBI whistleblower still suspended. What is Cash Patel waiting for? The same complaint. Jimmy is basically, I guess, might as well just be working at the Blaze now.
Now, we at this show, we all cheered when Kash Patel was nominated to be the
Yeah, that's because you're stupid.
director of the FBI. We covered it here on the show, but now it's been months and
Yeah, sorry, you don't get to stop. Sorry, you don't get to dislike it now.
whistleblowers still haven't been made whole. So at this point, we must start asking hard questions.
I agree. Why ask the hard questions before the motherfucker gets in? It's ridiculous. It's like letting guys, in ski masks with guns into your house in the middle of the night and start going, I don't think these guys have a flat tire. It's time to start asking the hard questions because it's starting to look like a home invasion.
We can go back to December 9th when Kash Patel posted this on X, saying, I just wrapped up a wonderful meeting with Chairman Chuck Grassley.
Said no one ever. I'm sorry that I started, but it helps to keep it separates the wheat from the chaff.
I share his love for government transparency and whistleblower protection.
So I guess what you're saying is Chuck Grassley doesn't give a shit about whistleblower protection either. Okay, all right, that tracks.
So for more, let's go ahead and bring in FBI whistleblower Steve Friend. He's also the host of the American Radicals podcast and
Radical
Blaze News investigative journalist Steve Baker. So the Steves are here with me today to cover what is a very important topic. But Steve Friend,
I have a quick question. Why the fuck do you have so much floor space? Is there a dance section on this show? Maybe your voice wouldn't be so clappy and boomy in this environment if you had a real studio. The fuck?
I want to start with you because it feels like the whistleblower protection is kind of an oxymoron right now.
Well, yeah, because a lot of these guys aren't actual whistleblowers, too.
It absolutely is. I mean, whistleblower protection is tantamount to gun laws. The only people who actually obey them are law-abiding good people. But apparently the demons who work within the federal organizations like the FBI and the DOJ and all across all of our...
Why? Who gives a shit? If you're a whistleblower, you go either to the top, you bypass the people that would be between you and the support structure that could help you, the top tier of whatever your organization, or the president's office himself. I'm sorry. Why do Trump and Kash Patel and these assholes dodge accountability in this situation? Why are you still bitching about deep state people slowing you down if you're on TV talking about exactly what you were whistleblowing about? What the fuck?
Bureaucracies, they're never held accountable, so why would they ever subscribe to...
For what?
To uphold their end of the bargain.
What bargain? What are you talking about?
You can see no greater examples than my friends like Marcus Allen, Garrett O'Boyle, Phil Kennedy, Kyle Seraphin, and others who are not as prominent and public as we are, the suspendables, who have been indefinitely suspended, unpaid for years on end, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be any sort of resolution in the near future.
Maybe it's because you were fired for cause and there's nothing they can do about it.
So Baker, how do we get here? How have we gotten through the Christopher Wray FBI, and we now have a Trump administration that is...
Sorry, Trump picked Christopher Wray too, stupid.
Now by
it was always Trump's FBI. It's been Trump's FBI. All during the Biden administration, it was Trump's FBI.
Director Kash Patel, how do we get here at this point?
You voted for Jeffrey Epstein's wingman and Roy Cohn's last friend when he was dying, and you seem to think he's a good Christian man, or at least have been able to bullshit yourself into this. Seems to be that seems to be the way this worked out. You're full of shit, and you're still unaware.
How did we get to this point? Well, that's a tough one, because I can go at this how we got here from many different trails, many different avenues got it.
How about you voted for Trump and you get what you pay for, fucko?
Here, but the simplest and most stark reminder for all of us is that the cult of the FBI still exists.
Sorry, is that? I'm sorry. Has Kash Patel been hypnotized?
and the cult of the FBI has not been cleaned out yet. You don't get to be an agent of change or a deep state disruptor by coming in and just becoming the new cult leader. And that's what it feels like. Now, look, at the very beginning of this...
Hold on. So there are two possibilities here as I see it. There's a myriad, but there are two primary ones. One is Kash Patel was a pure and innocent and decent man, and has been, as he moved into this position of power, has been cajoled, bribed, or intoxicated by the power of the FBI and has fallen in line with the deep state, and now he's one of them. And this is how it always works. That's why somehow Democrats, and apparently Democrats always run the FBI, even though, you know, Ellie hardly ever votes Democrat. Somehow they throw it to them or something. But Kash Patel has just been, you know, pulled into this like a tractor beam. Or, this is another alternative, he was always full of shit. There was no massive fraud or some lie that you could sell to everyone, that differences of opinion or, you know, political issues on social media networks that had nothing to do with the government got you kicked to the curb or got you, you know, violated the terms of service and they told you to go fuck yourself. And it wasn't the FBI that told them to, you know, remove your account, or the Biden White House, or even the Trump White House. They just did it because they didn't want their, I guess, their customer base to fucking die. And all these things are just have been in your head. That the problem Kash Patel has is when he got in there, he looked at the shit and he went, oh, okay, these people are nuts. None of this is true. I believe this bullshit, and now I can clearly see, once I've seen the evidence, that none of this has been true. Those are the two big options. And that the whistleblowers actually weren't whistleblowers in this case at all. They were just bitching about the current climate and the fact that they felt like they were on the downslope of history.
New Trump administration, we were cheering for the nominations of Kash Patel, Dan Bongino.
Yeah, and you don't get to stop. Sorry. Suck it.
When they were confirmed, we applauded, we gave them a standing ovation. And the guys in the suspendables heard directly from Kash. And, you know, he told them via text or private message that, look, I couldn't have done this without you. And then all of a sudden,
nothing.
They've been abandoned.
All right. Well, I'm just going to enjoy that for a second. I'm just going to sit here in chat room. Can you just bask in that for a minute? These are the people who are. These would be these guys. These guys are to Kash Patel what Elon Musk is to Trump, right? All right. Just it's nice.
So how did we get here?
You voted for assholes, and you haven't woken up to the fact that you were sold a bill of goods because you're either too stupid or evil or a combination of the two to be able to contemplate and the reality.
I don't know. We're not there yet. We certainly aren't where we should be, which is clear
jail
restoration for these guys, and
clear restoration.
Not only restoration, but they need to be acknowledged for the patriotism of actually being the men of character that we expect federal agents to be.
Friend, I remember when we had you on the show while Kash was going through his nomination process, and you shared a story with us about how Kash himself...
It was a beautiful story.
...donated $5,000 to you and your family, and he didn't even want the credit or recognition for it. I feel like...
Sounds like a payoff, actually.
There was no greater champion of Kash at that point in time than you and the rest of the...
Yeah, it's... And I guess you're going to give that $5,000 back and say, fuck you, buddy?
Vendables.
Right? When you give the money back? So when did you give it back? When right away, or when that happened? Or did you write the check after this episode when she mentioned this? You're like, oh shit, right, fuck him. And you like, take your $5,000. I don't need your $5,000, asshole. I'd rather live with my integrity. I'm fucking around. Like, he's still...
Yeah, his foundation, Fight with Kash, reached out to me, and Kash himself, as a representative there, being on the top of the line, reached out and was able to offer that to my family heading into the holidays. It was extremely generous, and he very specifically said he didn't want to have any sort of credit for it. This is just something that he believed in to support whistleblowers, guys who would...
Yeah, that's because he was buying your consent for the position he knew he was going to be offered, and he would need that for that period of time. But that's the extent of what you're going to get from him, fucko. He bought you. You had a price. He knew it. The reason he wanted it on the down low was because you were being bribed to throw your weight behind him. Stupid.
Come forward for the right reasons at the right time and actually adhere to their oath of office. And like you and like Steve Baker, I was waving pom-poms. I believe that we got our #1 draft choice. I still believe that. I would like to have seen maybe a difference in strategy as he's entered in as the director.
Or any.
Of the FBI, maybe going in with more of a shock and awe rather than winning hearts and minds. I think that the presupposition that maybe he and Dan Bongino went in with was that there was just a lot of good men and women of the FBI, and they just needed to have their default settings reset so that they could go back to rigorous obedience to the Constitution. And I think that was maybe a foolish assumption to have, because really, what do you know about?
Yes, clearly the FBI are full of, commies, and they need to be rooted out. Bunch of fucking genuine Christians and commies and people who are like, but we should be fair and treat people honestly, which is not what Trump is asking for.
People within the FBI, particularly those at the Hoover building, who are going to surround you on a daily basis. And that is the people who have never said no to a bad idea, people who were gleefully abusing their rights and powers as sworn law enforcement officers, or at the very least were putting their head down and just following orders. And none of those are acceptable. So I think in the time that we've had now, which has been in excess of 4 months, we've gotten a pretty good sample size. And I'm really disappointed that we haven't seen the institutional changes. And then just from a personal matter, like my friend Garrett O'Boyle exceeded now 1,000 days of unpaid indefinite suspension last weekend on Sunday. And this is a guy that the FBI actually investigated and adjudicated that he did not do anything wrong. And Kash Patel's been the director for 120 plus days, so he owns somewhere in the area of 12% of Garrett O'Boyle's suspension time. Wave of a pen could easily resolve that situation, at least get him back on the payroll. The man has 4 small children, and he's in a situation right now where, because he is an employee of the FBI, unpaid of course, he needs their permission to seek outside employment, and they have stopped that from happening.
That would be, by the way, this guy. FBI agent who testified for Republicans was suspended over leaked sensitive information. House Democrats are asking Attorney General Merrick Garland to investigate whether Garrett O'Boyle, whom Republicans presented as an FBI whistleblower, lied to Congress. Garrett O'Boyle, an FBI agent who was presented in a public hearing by House Republicans as a whistleblower, was suspended by the Bureau because of internal investigators had concluded that he leaked sensitive investigative information to a right-wing group, Project Veritas, according to a Bureau official. House Democrats now accuse O'Boyle of lying to the committee and are referring the matter to Attorney General Merrick Garland. This is the thing. Lawmakers learned about the reason for O'Boyle's suspension, which was previously unreported, in testimony that Jennifer Moore, the FBI's Executive Assistant Director for Human Resources, provided to the House Judiciary Committee's Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government. Parts of her testimony are included in a letter top Democrats on the Judiciary and Weaponization panels wrote to Garland, alleging that O'Boyle lied to the committee about leaking information before he was suspended. In the letter, Jerry Nadler, Stacey Plaskett, details several instances when O'Boyle, in interviews with committee staff and in the panel's public hearing, denied that he had leaked FBI information to the media. O'Boyle testified that he made Jim Jordan, Ohio, who chairs the committee, aware of his suspension and provided him with a letter informing him of the FBI's decision. O'Boyle described the charges as nothing more than an allegation that claimed he never provided anyone outside the agency with non-public information before he was suspended. Okay, but did you speak to the media? Not prior to being suspended? No. Okay, so your testimony is that you never spoke to the media, that it was entirely false. What was in the suspension notice that you were handed? It was entirely false. What was in the suspension notice that you were handed? Correct. Okay. Democrats argue in their letter to Garland that Moore's testimony directly contradicts O'Boyle's claim. She provided the committee with several examples of when non-public information ended up in the public domain and explained how the internal investigation determined O'Boyle was responsible, according to their letter to Garland. Moore pointed to an interview Project Veritas conducted with an anonymous subject referred to as FBI whistleblower, said the agency was able to determine O'Boyle was that subject. According to his suspension letter, which was included in the Democrats' letter to Garland, O'Boyle was suspended by the FBI September 23rd of that year. The interview in question was posted by Project Veritas on May 12th last year. In addition to the interview, Moore said, the Bureau's investigation revealed that O'Boyle had also removed sensitive information from FBI computers and provided it to Project Veritas without authorization. Some of the information shared with the right-wing site was part of an active criminal investigation. She told the subcommittee there was an urgency to locate who was leaking the information because of the risk it presented, she said, according to the letter. There was a level of urgency because of the identity of the individual, and it appeared that he was still accessing case files and information that he wasn't authorized to have access to and disclosing it because we had seen information obviously in public forums. That would be the guy that he's saying has 4 children and is suspended and hasn't gotten his job back, and Kash Patel isn't going to give him his job back. Because if he does, it would violate the standards that the FBI has, and other people who did the exact same thing would get away with it. And think of this guy as the, I was about to say right-wing WikiLeaks, but that's what they became. A Snowden moment. If you change the rules for Snowden, you change the rules for everyone else, and it's hard to stop people from leaking stuff later on. That's why Patel probably isn't doing it.
For the last 2.5 years.
Yeah, Baker, we know Joe Hanneman wrote about the FBI whistleblower, about Garrett O'Boyle himself in the 1,400 days that he has now been suspended. And he was saying how he recalls clarity, how Patel promised to fix the unjust suspension that he was nominated for the FBI director back in November of 2024. O'Boyle said that he was told that he would be brought back to the FBI, have his security clearance restored, and be provided more than 140 weeks of back pay. There's so much in Joe Hanneman's piece about that. But just speak on this a little bit more about just Garrett O'Boyle in general.
Well, this is the lowest hanging fruit that Patel could reach up and grab that would return him to favor with.
No. If the dude leaked stuff, then it opens the door for everybody else who could fight their suspension based on the same rules. If he gets special dispensation because he's doing it for political reasons, you appreciate his leaks, but other people, you don't appreciate their leaks. They would have every reason to, you would have leaks coming out of the FBI and everywhere else hand over fist, because everybody would argue that I'm actually a whistleblower. This isn't even though I'm not showing you evidence of a crime, and what I'm showing you is actually just politically imbalanced stuff, or stuff that I think is hinky because I disagree with it. Everybody would be able to do that in the federal government and get away with it effectively because you let this guy have a pass. That's one of the reasons why they're holding back. But if they do that, that's exactly what will happen. And you know that people that lean towards our side of the aisle in the FBI, who are aware of the shenanigans that Trump is carrying out in law enforcement and the DOJ through Pam Bondi and stuff, would start pouring stuff to reporters like crazy.
The 80 million people that voted for President Trump would to actually provide restoration to the likes of Garrett O'Boyle.
Most of the voters that voted for Trump don't give a rat's ass about these guys. They're not going to.
To Steve Friend, honestly, we're talking about a couple of Boy Scouts here. So we're not talking about what this new narrative that's being fostered and leaked by somebody inside the Hoover building that, there's additional character issues inside of their files.
Uh-huh.
Well, really? Well, then show us them. And then...
Well, no. You trust Kash Patel? You trust Bongholio? Then suck it up. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear doubt. You guys don't get to doubt. Democrats get to doubt. We're allowed. We get to hash stuff out and be complex about it and all that kind of stuff. But we don't because we don't expect royal-like fealty to our leaders. You do. So if Trump put them in charge, you can shut the fuck up.
Beyond that, let's talk about the character issues of all 35,000 employees of the...
No, let's not. Because those people didn't get swapped around, including any future whistleblowers that you might, I guess, be attacking accidentally right now. The people who Trump put in charge are either doing the job that they're being told to do, or they are not. You have to decide. Either they've come in and discovered that actually this dude you're talking to and the other guy, O'Boyle, are actually guilty. They did some fucked up stuff. I understand that. They did some fucked up shit. And they deserve what they got. That's one of your options. The other is they didn't. They're innocent victims, but they're innocent victims of Trump and Kash Patel, not Biden.
If we're going to do that, there's none of us without sin. There's none of us that don't have...
Shut the fuck up.
character flaws, and there's probably nobody that doesn't have something negative in their file, except maybe Garrett O'Boyle and Steve Friend. So this...
Jesus Christ. Get out of here. They leaked information willfully. And part of it happened after they were suspended, but still had not been fired. So even then, like, why are you okay with them leaking stuff after they've been suspended? Which means they were accessing computer systems they did not have the right to access. Now, why wouldn't you just come forward and go, this is me, here's what I saw, I don't have access to this stuff, but it exists in the servers, and I'm just telling the truth because there's a crime here, and I'm going to testify in front of Congress, I'm going to tell them the truth, but I'm not going to steal files and give them to Project Veritas. You don't have to commit a crime to be a whistleblower. You don't. You just have to actually have courage. But the problem is these guys weren't really blowing the whistle. They were trying to alter the balance of power inside the DOJ and inside the FBI against the will of the sitting president and the Justice Department at the time in favor of a pussy-grabbing fraudster from New York.
It is, as I said, it's low-hanging fruit. This is not something that was going to take months and months to work out and figure out and analyze. This was something that Patel, as Steve said, could have done with a stroke of a pen.
Right. So if he's not, it's because these guys are either guilty or you know he's been compromised, and you guys are going to have to deal with that. Such a joy. And there's going to be similar stuff related to this when it comes to the big brown bill, the big bullshit bill, the budget busting bill in the House and the Senate, or in the House as it comes from the Senate. This is, yeah. I don't know if we saw the Murkowski, like some people saw the staring fest that happened. Let's see, one thing. I'm going to bring up one more thing, and then I'll leave you guys for the evening, and I will see you tomorrow. I think tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, we have Phil and the Major with us. Aw, there's a little kitty. Oh, meet Possum. Andrea's showing Possum on the... I'm going to show Possum's the little kitty. Look at Possum. Aw. So adorable. And wet, apparently. Did you just find that cat outside? Good Lord. Super sweet. It didn't just blow into your yard, did it? I do want to see. This is... Oh, yeah. So... Yeah, this is the thing I wanted to show you. Here it is. This is, if I may, this is where things are going. This is, and we've, now that the bill has passed the Senate, Elon Musk is going to pull the trigger on his little America party and all that stuff. That party will divide the Republicans. It will not attract a statistically significant number of Democrats, okay? And it will be a great lesson and a return to sort of the Clinton presidency was brought into place by Ross Perot, you could argue, splitting the Republican ticket. We're in that position now, and it could do it for House races and Senate races as well. So, anyways, fuck them. So here's Charlie Kirk, I guess, whistling at these two. I don't know what this Internet Explorer unknown error 404 not found thing, but he goes, Elon Musk to create third party, a disaster for everyone. No. Simply a disaster for Maga and the rhinos they hate.
If your portfolio is over $250,000 and you chose gold and silver to head, will receive saying that if this bill passes, he's starting a new political party.
The Robo Party.
Here is the official announcement. Breaking news, 309. The bill has passed. 309.
50. The nays are 50. The Senate being evenly divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative. The bill as amended is passed.
And that is...
Yeah, nothing says mandate like a 50-50 split by the Vice President.
Passing of the big, beautiful bill in the United States Senate, and it is now going back to the House of Representatives for a final vote to then go back to the President of the United States. Now, it might seem as if this is irreconcilable between President Trump and Elon Musk.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously Musk is friends with other pedophiles. He was friends with Ghislaine Maxwell, and he apparently introduced Zuckerberg to Epstein at a party. So maybe that's not the big deal. Maybe they'll bury the hatchet in, I don't know, Ivana's headstone. I'm kidding. She doesn't have one.
How could they possibly ever join forces? How could they ever come back together after all this back and forth? President Trump is talking about starting a new political party.
Who is? Who is?
After all this back and forth, President Trump is talking about starting a new political party.
Huh. That's news. He means Elon Musk.
I mean, Elon Musk is starting a new political party, and they're attacking, and it's just as nasty as you could imagine. And it's
no, I can imagine much nastier. I'm going to go with Elon Musk has access to videos and files that have not been released from the Epstein files that he downloaded or kept.
It seems as if that it's only going to increase.
Mm-hmm.
But President Trump has in front of us a rather dramatic and telling track record of being able to reconcile and work with people that were otherwise considered to be sworn enemies of MAGA.
Yeah. This dude can cozy up to people with power in a transactional way. That's very different. Him wanting to suck off Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin because he envies their power is very different from someone that he thinks is lower than him in the case of Elon Musk, even if he's got more money. Because he views that, like, as much as he thought, business leaders ruled the world, now that he's president of the United States, he recognizes how much power world leaders actually wield, and he looks downhill at everyone, including Elon Musk.
Where we were in the nastiest of all circumstances.
Why? Because they both partied with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Elon Musk is a patriot.
Well, South Africa needs him right now, I guess.
Do I think Elon Musk is misfiring on starting a new political party? Yes. That would do nothing but help the Democrats have permanent political control over the country.
Okay. Interesting. I'm listening. You've piqued my interest. Yes?
Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It would turn the country into a third world hellhole. It would be wide open borders. That is a bad idea.
No, we wouldn't have wide open borders, and it wouldn't be a third world hellhole. Just silly. But I mean, it's a good threat towards Elon Musk. I guess that's got to be the talking point, right? That's the only thing that's going to allegedly scare Elon Musk and whoever might follow him over there from doing it.
Do I think Elon Musk wants what's best for America? Yes, I really do.
Yeah, but the problem is what does he define as best for America? Like, in many cases, I think he thinks it would be best if about 10 to 15% of the populace didn't exist anymore.
Him buying X and him buying Twitter will go down as one of the most consequential, important purchases. I said at the time, and I was mocked, the most important purchase since the Louisiana Purchase, and I was right.
No, it isn't. It's not. Virtual territory will never trump real territory, dipshit.
It was a liberating of conversation. The other tech titans followed.
Really? Did anybody hold back? Was anybody getting... Sorry, anybody not feel liberated? Oh, you mean because you liked using the N-word and the R-word and that kind of shit. So you felt liberated because you could use those again. Because you don't have any other words.
Look, in politics, sometimes it requires sharp elbows. Requires the capacity to throw a couple jabs.
God damn, there's a lot of silent pauses in this. I can't tell if he's doing this for gravitas or if he's just covering.
It's not unheard of for President Trump to get a little bit upset. There was at times where he was insulting Steve Bannon 8 years ago.
What?
And all that kind of got remedied.
Oh, my God.
It's all part of the Trump story. Sometimes things get very heated, and then there's a reconciliation. There's a reapproachment. And we all agree that we want Elon Musk and we want Donald Trump to work collaboratively.
They must collaborate.
I've been waiting for this piece of tape, but I'll try to find another one here.
Yeah, keep waiting. Well, we got it. We're okay.
Which is the best example in front of us is as we're doing this program, President Trump is hanging out with Ron DeSantis.
Ron who?
Ron DeSantis, who they were the worst of enemies imaginable.
No.
Where they were as bitter enemies. I mean, they were just attacking each other relentlessly. They were in the midst of a primary. Donald Trump did not have very good things to say about Ron DeSantis at all.
And here they are.
They're taking questions on the tarmac, and in his own words, he says...
Trying to out-bigot each other.
That his relationship with Ron DeSantis is a 10. Play cut 310.
Well, compared to his other ones, again, this is a sliding scale.
Stand here now as partners on this effort. How would you describe the relationship, and what future does Governor DeSantis have?
I think it's a 10. Maybe 9-9, because there might be a couple of little wounds. So maybe it's 9-9. I think we have a 10. We get along good.
I endorsed him immediately in January 2024. I raised one of his...
God damn, that dude's voice is dweeby. I mean, the haircut's bad, but Jesus.
Millions and millions.
It's like a Rick Moranis character, bless his heart.
Of dollars, and then
Rick's.
We work very well on this and other issues with Florida. You can call him at any time, and he wants to be helpful for governors. I mean,
well, especially when he owns multiple properties in your state and fled there to avoid, like, New York seizing all of his assets.
That's a big change from where we were in the primary. I only introduce that piece of evidence to show that I think Elon and Trump will reconcile.
No. Hey, asshole. Ron DeSantis doesn't have a fucking choice. He's got to suck up to Trump. Elon Musk doesn't need to. He's got a world market for a bunch of shit. Like, he thinks he's going to be making robots, like, long after Trump is dead. And he's probably right. DeSantis needs maggots to love him so that he can run for office again. He needs Trump to sign off on his potential run for president at some point. That's why. Thank you,
Stacey. I don't want to see
Stacey.
this getting barreling out of control, where Elon puts up an America party. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, but think about all the money you'll make, Charlie, because the Turning Points folks will, you'll have your own, 2 different versions of Turning Points that you can use. You could split that. I mean, you could double charge them effectively. You could, a little double billing. Yeah.
All that would do would be a gift to radical left-wing Democrats, and would.
Well, as a moderate Democrat, I'm more excited about it than they are.
Splinter off some more of the fiscal-minded younger tech bros to go vote for a third party, because the Democrats, they're not going anywhere. They are Soviet bloc consolidated, Pravda unified.
I'm so glad you have faith in us on that level.
I do think, though, that Elon's fiscal concern should be given and highlighted a big platform. And we need to cut more spending. We need to balance our budget. I agree with Elon on that.
Yeah, but you're not going to during Trump's presidency if this bill passes. You're fucked. It ain't happening. Seriously, until there is a change of president, or I guess the House or the Senate, if Democrats take over the House and the Senate, propose a budget and put it forward to a veto-proof majority, and Trump, they don't even need his signing to put it in action, and he'll get his little slush money like every president does to mess around with, but the overall budget is a responsibility of the Congress. They can absolutely get it through. But if we don't have Democrats take over the House and the Senate, this bill will be in place as effectively the budget and the tax policy at least till the end of this term. And probably into the next year of whatever the next term is because of a bleed over and trying to get something else passed if there's any, kind of political waffling going on. So you're not going to balance the fucking anything. You're going to create more debt, period, with this thing. There's no question. And that's it. It's donezo. You're fucked.
But we do that within the Republican Party, not by starting a new party.
You're not going to do it within the Republican Party, dipshit. That's the whole point. The Republican Party as a whole is going to sign off on this bill. And if they do that, when they do that, you're going to throw the whole budget issue out the fucking window. Period.
If it was the tech right versus the MAGA right, it means a Mamdani left would win, and everyone
no, it wouldn't
would lose. We have the amazing Student Action Summit coming up,
and then an ad. Try harder, asshole. And by the way, that's what these assholes are going to use Mamdani for. Mamdani's running for the mayor of New York. Simmer the fuck down. He's not the governor of New York. He's not going to be a senator or a House member yet. And even running in those ways, there's a lot of work to be done if you're getting anywhere near the stuff he's proposing. It's not a sea change in how the fucking government works. It won't be. There are mayors all over the place that have all kinds of... They said the same fucking thing about the mayor of Chicago. They said the same fucking thing about Karen Bass, and it's bullshit. It's still not going to affect like federal office, dummy. Jesus Christ. Have you forgotten what you guys have been calling Bernie Sanders all this time? And he's an independent. He's not even a Democrat. Talk about splitting into a third party, for fuck's sake. We've been dealing with that forever on our side. Suck it up, Buttercup. Lord almighty. The bill as it stands, I don't think will pass the House. I think it's going to drag on because I think they're going to fight over the deficit part of it. And then they're going to have to cut it up and send a chunk of it back to the Senate, which is going to have to vote on it again, probably along the same vote lines with some of the Medicaid cuts taken out. But I mean, but like this much of it, right? They're going to have to do some moderating back and forth. They're basically splitting the bill between the committees in the House and the Senate. Yeah. As they want to denaturalize Elon. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I don't know. They're going to cave like the Senate. The Senate didn't cave though. They lost votes and they had to use the vice president to actually pass to break the tie. You can't do that in the House. You can only do that in the Senate. They've got to have the votes. And a lot of their folks are, red districts in blue states who need the SALT tax, who know that they're on the hook for all this Medicaid funding, who they want those cuts because they know their states can afford to take care of them, even in the red districts, in California and that whereas Arkansas, Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee, those guys are fucked if these things go through. It's a real problem. And to some degree, the damage that they're going to have to do, states are going to have to pick that up. Democratic governors, Democratic senates in all these states, mayors and the like are going to, charities are going to have to pick up some of the slack during the rest of the Trump presidency because they're going to let these folks hang. What's the SALT tax? State and local tax. So SALT isn't a tax, it's a tax credit for the tax you pay in your state. So state and local tax is something you pay. Let's say you pay, $10,000 worth of taxes on state income tax. You can write that off on the federal income tax because you've already been taxed on it at the state level. What they want to do is be able to tax you twice. If the state taxes you $10,000, the federal government wants you to tax you another $10,000. And so what's been around for a long time is that states, higher tax states, tend to also pick up their own slack. They pay for their own bills. They need less FEMA support. They need less Medicaid, Medicare support, quite frankly, because they pay for it internally. They have their own social structure, so they don't require the federal government to roll in and pick up the slack because there isn't any. So you get this break on that because they're spending their tax dollars inside the state first. There was a $40,000 SALT deduction, and they've dropped it down to 10. Most of the the red districts in blue states wanted it at least 30,000, right? So you want to be able to write off that. So because again, this is a big part of the whole donor state versus the taker states. So Mercana says Trump is winning. Gibberish. Again, one of the things we have to keep pushing back on, and is this idea that if the VP has to break the tie, there is no mandate. The unpopularity of this bill is not going to improve once it passes. This is not like the ACA where people are going to get health care out of this. Millions of people are going to get kicked out of their health care and lose support because of this. And a lot of them are going to be maggots. So Trump getting out over his skis and the Republican Party following him because they're too fucking afraid to push back because they're afraid of either losing support amongst the maggot base in their own state or in their own constituency, whether it's half the state they're in or their particular district, whatever it is. If they're afraid of losing that support, it's not because they're appealing to a broader group there. It's just if they lose that, they're going to get primaried and they're fucked. Doesn't SALT only benefit those who itemize deductions? Not necessarily. No, this one in particular starts on how it depends on how your state does it, insofar as I know. Point being is though it's one of the ways that the blue states, take care of their own, pay for their own education system, do all the stuff, all the priorities, because that's where all the money is made. And again, for all the shitting on California that they do, California by itself is like the 4th largest economy on earth. Taxes went up because of the SALT cap. Still waiting for my Trump tax cut. Yeah, it's not happening. It depends on the state, I suppose. Remember to take care of yourself and someone else too. That's right. Yes. Tell somebody you love them and take no one for granted. Absolutely. You're only 6 months in and you're exhausted already. I got to tell you, I don't let people like that exhaust me. You know what I mean? This is a fight worth having. This is a conversation worth having. I'm invigorated by this back and forth. I don't need it to be invigorated in life, but when it happens, it doesn't wear me down to a nub or anything like that. I feel like, because I feel like you could just keep, I don't know, if you push me, I'm like a weeble. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. I feel like when they push on me, I just kind of automatically spring back up like one of those inflatable punching dummies. Seriously, I don't like, and I don't expect, nor do I give points for exhaustion or frustration or anxiety. I'm not going to reward people for that or give a break to it. I feel like people are way stronger than they know. And once you've seen people in a real emergency, you know what kind of genuine your resilience. There's a difference between what I would call social media exhaustion and real exhaustion. And I want you to know that whether you believe in yourself, I believe in you. I know you've got more in the tank than you say. We need a Weeble emote? Yeah, just look like a little egg. It's got to go back and forth. I don't know if there'd be one an animated one would be really good. It's a sprint and a marathon. That's true. I mean, it's like it's a Bruce Lee marathon, where he would sprint and then jog walk and then sprint and then jog walk, right? It's kind of like that, right? I love living through history. I just want to see Americans step up again, and we will. I agree. Yep. Thanks, Mark P. Yeah. Use PayPal? Yeah, it's a great way to do it. Just paypal.me/HalSparks. Can we see a kitty? That's a good idea. Should we do that right before I go? Okay, talk amongst yourselves. I'll see if I can gather up a cat. Give me 1 second. And we'll see if I can find... we got to show you the little one. He's growing. Hold on. I'm going to... Chipper was actually in here. He was... Hi, Chipper. What you doing, buddy? It's my buddy. Hi. Hi, buddy. Chip was in here, so I grabbed him. He was right outside the door. That's my boy. That's that boy. That's a Chip. You doing okay? He's a big boy. Chip's a big boy. He gets a lot of crap for being fat, but he's big boned. He's hardy. There you go, buddy. I'm gonna see if I can find Bucky for you. Hang in there. I found him. He was upstairs. Look how big he's getting. Look at this buddy. Look at this buddy. He's so relaxed. There he is. Yeah, he loves to lay on his back. He's very panther. This is Bucky. That's a boy. How you doing? Yeah, he'll just hang on your arm like this all the time. So, all right, hold on. Let me fade the music out, and I will. I'll let you guys go. I'll see you tomorrow. But this is Bucky, everybody. Yeah, he's got a little white patch on his belly. Ain't that boy? How is he? You doing good? And he's very curious, and he will get in the stove. He will get in the fridge. He will get in the washing machine. You have to be very careful because he will climb in while you are loading the washing machine and want to ride around in it. Yeah. But he's excellent. Yeah, he's doing good. All right, I'll let you guys go. I'll see you later. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. I'll see you in the morning. I got music coming. Hold on. It was not playing for some reason. There we go. Let's go to this one.